I have all chicken breast. 3 comfy, comforting homemade meals. I know that you've seen many recipes for a rotisserie chicken, but today we're using 1 rotisserie chicken and turning it into 3 home-cooked meals. All of our meals today will be homey, comforting, and filling. First one is an arroz con pollo. Second one is a chicken pot pie. And third is a mianga soup. This chicken has many delicious parts to it, and each part of this chicken is going to serve its purpose in each dish. So I'm separating the legs and the thighs as best as I can, and then I'll come over here to the breast side and kind of tear that apart without tearing the back, because I want to save that back for our soup. I removed the legs here. I'm gonna set those aside. This is some of the meat from the thigh. And then this is our breast. All right, and this is what's left of the chicken. This is the carcass, and attached to it is still a lot of meat that we can eat from. But this is going to be simmered in our soup, and it's going to be so delicious. Now I will be shredding the chicken breast as finely as I can. I'm going to use this chicken breast in my arroz con pollo. Most of the common ways that I've seen a rotisserie chicken used in recipes is for a chicken salad. And I love a good chicken salad. It's great for meal prep, especially if you're busy on the go. It's a great way to use up a rotisserie chicken. But in this case, I want something a little bit more homey, and arroz con pollo is a great, simple, easy weeknight meal that you can have on the table in less than 35 minutes. And shredding this takes 0 time. Even if you use your hands, it does not take that long, but even if you do not want to use your hands, you can simply throw this into your mixer and it'll do the job for you. All right, we're all done shredding the chicken breast. I have a beautiful pile here. I'm going to use some of this for the arroz con pollo. I'm going to save a little bit for the chicken pot pie. And here to the side, I have the legs and thighs still, which I kind of want to break up more into chunks for our chicken pot pie. So I'm going to set this aside and get that going. In the meantime, behind me, I have my pots. This is where I'm going to cook the arroz con pollo. And then I have my casserole dish that I'm going to use for the chicken pot pie. I'm going to turn on the temperature for both of these, and the temperature for both of them is going to be medium heat. Now I have all my veggies prepped here for both of my dishes. I love to do this because it saves time, and sometimes if I don't have it laid out on the counter like this, I might forget an ingredient. It has happened before. So here we have some diced celery, diced tomato, diced carrot, and a mixture of diced tomatoes and diced peppers. Now we also have some unsalted butter that we're going to cook right now, and a whole tub of diced onion because we can never have enough onion. Now for spices, we are going to be using a few of them just for our arroz con pollo, and some of these will be used in our chicken pot pie as well. We have cumin, smoked paprika, coarse black pepper, bay leaves, garlic powder, onion powder, turmeric mainly for color, and then we have tomato paste, Worcestershire sauce, chicken bouillon, and complete seasoning or sazon completo. All right, now to our pot, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I'm going to go in with a cup of diced onions, half a cup of diced celery, half a cup of diced carrots, and we will cook this until it begins to sweat, and then we'll add our tomatoes and mixed bell peppers. Now our carrots, celery, and onion are sweating down beautifully here. I am going to add in our peppers and tomatoes, and I will keep stirring this until it cooks down into a nice sofrito. And into this casserole dish where I'm going to make the chicken pot pie, I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And to this, we're going to add 1 cup of diced onions, half a cup of diced celery, and half a cup of diced carrots. Now to this chicken pot pie, I forgot to mention it in the beginning of the video, and why I forgot to mention it is because the ingredient was not out on my counter. So like I mentioned, if an ingredient is not out on my counter while I'm cooking, I might forget about it. But as I'm cooking this now, I just realized that I had prepped some corn and some jalapeno to cook into this chicken pot pie casserole because I wanted to give it a little bit of a twist. I just added 2 cups of corn and diced jalapenos. I'm going to cook this down with our diced onion, carrots, and celery. Now, we can see that the onion and carrots are starting to sweat. When they turn translucent like that, that's how you know that they're starting to sweat and soften. So I'm just going to keep stirring this for about a minute. And then I can begin to season with some salt, pepper, and additional seasonings. Our flour has thickened this up very nicely, and you can see it's coming all together. What I'm going to pour in next is 1.5 cups of whole milk. You can also use half and half or heavy cream if you have that. Now I'm going to gently stir this in. And this is going to continue simmering at a low temperature, but I'm also going to season this. This is 1 teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of poultry seasoning, and 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder. Give that a mix. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of coarse black pepper and 1 teaspoon of coarse kosher salt. That already looks so delicious. Now this is how I separated my chicken. So here I have all chicken breast, and this is gonna be for the arroz con pollo. And over here I have thicker chunks of the chicken leg and the chicken thigh, and then some pieces of the shredded chicken. This portion over here is going to be used for our chicken pot pie. And the reason why I wanted fattier bits of the chicken for the chicken pot pie is because I wanted it to be more hearty. And for the arroz con pollo, I just wanted to stretch out the chicken breast as much as I could. So that's the reason why I separated the chicken like that. And then over here, we have our chicken carcass that's going to be used for the soup. But I also have the legs where I took off that meat and have it here. So this is going to simmer in our broth as well. And this chicken carcass still has tons of meat left behind, and that's what we're going to eat in the soup. But everything here is going to flavor it very, very well. Alright, I had to switch out my pot because for some reason it started getting too hot and burning my sofrito. But no worries, I took it out in time and I just transferred to a new pot. So this is cooked down about 80% of the way. I'm just going to add coarse kosher salt at this point to help continue sweating those vegetables out. And I also want to season with some black pepper. Season this with half a tablespoon of chicken bouillon, half a tablespoon of onion powder, half a tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and give it a mix. Now to this, I'm also going to add 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. And I'm going to cook this down to remove some of the bitterness from that tomato paste. About 2 minutes. Now we're gonna go in with our shredded chicken. And we're going to give this a stir. Just until everything is fully combined together and all those flavors are mixed in. To this, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, and 1.5 teaspoons of complete seasoning. Go ahead and add 2 cups of washed jasmine rice. Give that a stir. And then to this, we're going to add 2 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of water. Now taste for salt and add more if needed. This is going to come to a boil and then we're going to cover with a lid and let it cook for about 25 to 30 minutes. Before I forget, I'm also going to add these 2 bay leaves and let that cook. All right, and now for our final meal, the mian gat soup. We have all of our chicken bones in here and that's gonna go into our pot. Now all the remaining gelatin that is in the rotisserie bag, that is all flavor. You're gonna wanna add that to your pot. And for aromatics, we have fresh ginger. This is the size of my palm. So find yourself a ginger that's about this size. Nothing too big, but not too small either. You'll see it's about the size of 2 to 3 fingers. Then we have 1 large carrot that has been peeled and washed and I just cracked in half. And then we have some green onion, about 3 to 4 sprigs of that. I'm also going to break these in half. And now we're just gonna fill this up with water and that is basically it. This is going to simmer for about 35 minutes. It's going to extract all that flavor, but you can actually simmer this for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours if you want to amplify that flavor even more. I want this to be done pretty quickly, so 35 minutes is a sweet spot. All right, our chicken pot pie is looking absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to give it a light brushing of an egg wash really quickly, just so I can get that nice and golden crust and look absolutely beautiful. You don't have to do this necessarily. It'll look beautiful either way, but this is just giving it like an additional, a little glow up. So I'm going to lightly coat this. Hopefully, it's going pretty hard there. All right, she is stunning. She's gonna go in the oven for 16 to 18 minutes or until she's nice, puffy, and golden. And then we'll let her rest for about 20 minutes or so before we can actually dig in. I'm so excited. All right, we just made an incredible spread. 3 different meals, 3 different homemade meals made out of 1 rotisserie chicken. I do have to say that the chicken pot pie, I messed up on the puff pastry, so learn from my mistake. My puff pastry was not cold enough, and therefore the butter did not help the pastry expand when it was cooking in the oven. So it is pale, it is flat, and unfortunately it's not the way that I envisioned it. But if you work with cold puff pastry, then you shouldn't have that problem. And as long as you don't push it down as much as I did, then it should puff up beautifully the way that I envisioned it in my head. But anyway, we have a corn jalapeño chicken pot pie casserole. We have arroz con pollo and mienga soup. I have a close-up of all of these three, and let me say that they all smell incredibly delicious. I cannot wait to dig in to all of these, and I'm glad that we have food for the next couple of days. My husband and I are definitely going to enjoy all of these meals. They're all homey, they're all filling, and they're all super comforting. And best of all, they're all budget friendly because they're made with one rotisserie chicken. And one of the many things I'm learning now as I'm starting YouTube is how to record properly so you can see my entire face. Anyways, let's dig into all of these and give it a taste test. We're gonna rank these 1 through 5, and I'll let you know which one's my favorite. I am going to start off with the corn jalapeno chicken pot pie. I feel like this one is the one that I should test the most since it didn't come out the way that I envisioned it to, but let's see if that flavor is there. It does look very tender and very flavorful just visually looking at it. It is extremely hot. All right, the overall flavor of this chicken pot pie is 5 out of 5. I honestly wouldn't change anything about the flavor, nothing with the texture. It's overall really, really good. Now, if I try it with the puff pastry, which was a total fail, let's see. All right, that puff pastry is chewy. It's not flaky at all whatsoever. Puff pastry, I give it a 1 out of 5. So if we're judging it based off of all the elements of the dish, it's unfortunately going to be a 4 out of 5. But if that puff pastry came out exactly the way that I wanted it to, it'll be a 5 out of 5, hands down. All right, next up is this arroz con pollo. I put sriracha on top because I love having it a little bit spicy. There's so much chicken in this. This could feed like maybe 6 people, honestly. Let's give this a taste. It wasn't even that hot. It's not an explosion of flavor, but it does have really good flavor. I feel like if you're feeding this to a family, especially if you have little kids, they would enjoy this because it's not spicy. It's not too over the top with seasoning, and it's just right. So I would give this a 4.5 out of 5. Now the last one, I'm kind of biased because it's one of my favorite meals to make, because you honestly just throw everything into a pot, let the chicken simmer, and it develops this super flavorful broth. And when you pair it with these vermicelli noodles, they're my favorite. It's kind of like having chicken pho at home, but without all the time that it requires to make that very flavorful broth. The vermicelli noodles are very simple, but what's really the star of the show is the broth. The broth is so hearty. It has a strong chicken flavor, and the best thing about this broth is that you can add more salt to your liking. You could add fish sauce to give it that umami salty flavor. And you could even add a little bit of sugar to balance out the saltiness with sweetness. And it's a 5 out of 5 meal. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope that you enjoyed these 3 comfy, comforting homemade meals that we made with 1 rotisserie chicken. If you like this video, make sure to leave me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next home cooking video. Let me know which one's your favorite in the comments. Bye!